So anything, the burning stick here. There are some boards that are working. Not sure what they're for.
Hi everyone, welcome to the session. So in the last class we discussed about the basic details about the AWS, why AWS uh, is leading the market, right? What are the advantages of cloud? What exactly is a cloud computing? What are the different deployment models of cloud, right? Either it may be the public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. Some of the companies may avail either public cloud or private cloud or both, depending upon their requirement, right? So, and also we discussed about the uh, why people are moving to the cloud, like because of the pay as you go approach, right? On demand supply, whenever you need it, we can directly flip the resources. You can make the resource available, and then you need to pay it accordingly, right? And also we discussed about the uh, if there are completely services in AWS which are categorized into multiple services like infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, right? We discussed in detail about this. Okay. Now we'll discuss about the regions first. We'll jump into EC2 service. Then you'll slowly understand about the regions also. Normally. Okay. So first service that we are going to talk is about the Elastic Compute Cloud. So this is the widely used service. There are few services that are very frequently used in AWS, right? One of which is, right, EC2. Okay, this is called as Elastic Compute Cloud. Elastic Compute Cloud. Okay, that's why it is called as EC2. Okay, basically, as it is a cloud environment, right? So, and this is used to launch a compute instance. This service is used to launch a compute instance. Like if you want to launch any virtual machine or any server, right? There is the reason a word compute they are using. And the reason for Elastic is, right, it has a flexibility to increase the resources. Suppose if you created a virtual machines of 4 CPU and 8 GB RAM, right? It has the in cloud for in EC2 resource, there is a flexibility to you can increase the resources, right, on the fly or decrease the resources. Okay, but that generally will not do, but there is a flexibility. That's why this is called as Elastic, right? That's this service is called Elastic Compute Cloud, the name how itself it has given, right? So this is a like very important service in AWS. Basically, right, to launch any server. As you know, in AWS, everything is a web interface, right? You can create everything from the web, right? So when you go to the AWS portal, when you log into that, I think you should create your AWS accounts if you haven't created yet. So if you log into the AWS, there will be lot of services. All the services that provided by the AWS will appear here. So Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud is one of the services. So whatever the service that you are looking for, just you need to type it. Then you will find the resources. So basically this resource is used to launch a virtual machine. So instead of going this option theoretically, right, I will directly launch an EC2 instance and in parallelly we'll discuss about the options in detail. Okay, that would be very easy. So whenever there is a concept, right, I will try to explain that what exactly is terminology and all, right? So now by now you should understand that EC2 is a service which is used to rent a virtual machine, we can say, or launch an instance, right? So just when you are launching an instance, you should give the name for that. So for example, if you are launching any virtual instance for any particular application, right? For example, it is a finance application or it is related to the broad environment, right? It is created in some particular DC. So like that, if you can give the name of that any instance, right, it would be easy to understand. So every company will maintain a separate naming convention, right? First, they will give the environment or they'll give the data center, they'll give the environment, then they'll give the operating system as some may create, and then they will give the application name. So just it is just to identify the per application resource, right? And then you will have the operating system. Here you will find there are so many AMIs that is available. Okay, AMI is nothing but a Amazon machine image, right? So for example, you got a request to create an to launch a virtual machine. obviously in the request they will provide what are the operating system that you have to use, what should be the AWS instance type you have to use, like what according to the configuration, how much CPU, how much memory, what is the storage that you need to use. There are some set of prerequisites that you will come when someone application team or someone create a request, right, to create an instance, to create these many instances for the respective application, right? So in that they will mention the operating system as well, right? So whether it should be the Windows operating system or it is a Linux operating system. So based on the configuration, based on the requirement, we should be using the operating system. So there are so many operating system and everything is customizable. So customizable in the sense, AWS created by taking the images of the respective operating system, and they have created the AMIs, means a image has been created for the specific configuration, right? If you want to go for a specific SUSE configuration 12 SP5 model, right, and in this they are using some specific disk, public cloud, advanced management systems, right? So basically based on this, uh, using these features, AWS created some image based on that. Okay, so basically AMI in the simple words we can say is, for example, you have launched an instance, okay, with some specific operators, with some specific features like one, two, some features has been included. So now this operating system, assume that it is a Linux and it is RHEL, okay, Red Hat Linux. Now what Amazon will do is they will, once the what are the features that are needed, right, to launch an virtual machine, they will launch the virtual machine and they will create an AMI, Amazon Machine Image. Basically, they will create an image and they will store all the images like this. So whatever according to our requirement, whatever the image that we can use, right? So there are so many images that are present according to the operating system. We can use according to our requirement. Okay. So this is basically image. Image means we can say that a prototype, something like that. So according to the operating system, according to the requirement, suppose if you are looking for Ubuntu, right? Then you will have so many, for example, in each category, you will have uh, one free tier available image would be there with some less configuration. And we have, see here, Amazon 2 AMI with kernel 5.0 SSD volume type. And if you are using for this, if you want any GPU machines, right, where it will be used for a very huge transactions, right, then go with this GPU AMI for this. And see, there are so many deep learning images are there with respect to AMI. So like that, for every operating system, Mac, Ubuntu, if you see, there will be so many customizable images would be there. Even you can create your own AMIs as well. We will test that in the future classes, right? So for now, I am just going with the default Amazon machine image, okay, with free tier available. And then it comes the instance type, okay. There are so many instance types that AWS is providing, right? And they have given some instance type based on the series, like T series, C series, X series, R series. Okay, this is actually very important to understand about the instance type. So AWS is providing a very good documentation. Directly, if you can search it, right, you will get it. See, These are so many different instance type that AWS is currently providing. Okay, one is general purpose, right? If there are any specific use cases. So what are all the, for each instance type, there are some specific features, and also what are all the different sizes available. Suppose if you are selecting a particular instance type of 1 CPU and 4 GB, right? And then you are selecting some network bandwidth like that, then you have to select this instance type. And if you require more configuration with more processors, right? So there will be many. So basically, this general purpose, right? This will be used for general, so basic installing any application, installing some gaming applications where there is like a medium level of performance is needed, right? For that purpose, the general purpose machines, and it is categorized into M series and T series, and they're also compute optimized. So this would be the C series, we call it as. Okay, and generally, right, this will be used for high performance. Wherever we need a high performance applications are there, right? Where it is basically using for batch processing workloads, high performance web servers, where some computing or dedicated gaming, right? See, these are all the things that you need to uh, understand, or we can say you can remember it. Okay, in specific use cases also is mentioned, right? For video encoding, gaming, scientific model. So based on this, generally the architect would be the person. He will be mentioning in the request which type of instance type that you would be using, right? Based on the application requirement, we should be able to suggest if it is memory optimized. So R series and X series will come into this memory optimized. So this will be, use case would be more memory intense workload. So for example, databases, basically, right? So when the data is storing in the databases, for example, the trading application, right? In the trading application, the data would be stored in the databases and huge transactions would be happening. And that transaction should be very fast, right? In the Sensex application or trading applications. So for that, we need to go for the memory optimized and some accelerated computing, storage optimized. So where you are looking for a heavy storage, where there are IO operations are very high, right? So for those, high performance optimized, this will be used for completely applications which are, see, the features is like 64 cores. This is a huge configuration. So according to the requirement, this is a maximum configuration. I think it is available 64 cores and 128. Okay, I think 192 is also there in this model. Six, six. So maximum this one 192. Okay, so based on the requirement, based on the application, we need to select the instance type, right? And if you can see here, for if you select the instance type, right, you will get the base pricing also. How much pricing would it cost per hour, right? So according to that, you need to plan it. So when you created a, when you're launching, when you create a virtual machine, right, you should be in a position to uh, log into that virtual machine, right? To install the applications, to do anything, right? You should be log into that virtual machine. So for that, to log into the virtual machine, we will use some tools like Putty, MobaXterm, right? So there should be a uh, IP address of the server and credentials of that server to log in. So the credentials may be username and password or a key-based authentication, right? Here you can create a key pair. Okay, if you create a key pair and one key pair would be downloaded here. So you need to use this key pair and then log into the virtual machine. Okay. And coming to the network settings. Okay, there is a completely separate service, virtual private cloud VPC, where you will create a completely a new virtual environment. You can create your own network. Okay, so when we discuss about the what VPC, we can able to discuss more about it. So when you create an AWS account, right, by default, one VPC would be created for you by the AWS, right? So this is the VPC that AWS is created by default. So when you are launching an EC2 instance, it will use the default one, right? So once the VPC, your EC2 instance is creating in that particular VPC, right? And so when you launch an instance, right, you need to create a security groups. So this is very crucial in terms of security. Okay, so you need to create a security groups. There would be two level of security groups. For example, you are launching an instance, right? There is inbound and outbound. Few rules you have to create it. Okay, you can create the rules based on the IP address, based on the port, exactly. So for example, you are installing any application, right? So you should be in a position to expose that application to a specific users or a specific subnet, or you want to expose that application to the internet completely. For example, there is an e-commerce application. For that, you need to expose it to the completely public. Okay. So that is comes under the outbound rules. So you need to set the outbound rules in such a way that who are all the users you are targeting, or who are all the ports that application should be exposed, on which port the application should be exposed, right? So based on that, you will be creating some rules, right? That is called as outbound rules. After installing the application, who has to access that application? And coming to the inbound rules, right? So who are the persons that you need to provide access to the particular virtual machine? Who can log into that virtual machine? Who can modify the configuration in the virtual machine? Like at least a networking level perspective, right? Access perspective also, see the to log into the virtual machine, modifying it, that depends on the access. Okay, that's why we generated the key pair. Here the rule is related to the completely network level. Or so who or what are all the IP ranges that can be decided, like these people can able to access that machine on which particular port they need to be access it. Okay, so we need to create a security groups with some specific set of rules according to the requirement, right? So that's where you can select. So always in a standard any organization, right? When you once they create an account, right, there will be some set of certain security groups will be created from certain purposes. Okay, so they will mention clearly in which security group you need to add it. Okay, if there are no security group as per the requirement, then you should be able to create your own security group, right? So here allow SSH traffic from anywhere. Okay, if you select this, right, you can see there is an option here. You can select from any particular IP, or you can select from anywhere. Anywhere means 0.0.0.0 by 0 means anywhere you can able to get, anyone can able to access SSH. If you want to select only specific IP, means this IP, that particular range, you can select it. So this is the inbound rule that it will create when you are creating a security group. And to access the application, right? To access the application, what are the applications that you are going to create? Whether it is an HTTP application or whether it is an secured based application, right? According to that, you can select the options, right? Whether you are creating for internal purpose or which protocol you are using. Based on that, these two will be like inbound rules, and this is the inbound rule. This will be the outbound rules. Okay, so this is the very important. So slowly, when you start working on the security groups, right, you will be able to understand more on it. Okay, these security groups, once the group is created, right, in further also you can able to edit that security group. Okay, and next thing is the storage. So depending on, again, on requirement, right, some storage you need to assign that particular instance. So according to, like, by default, you are getting a storage of 8 GB and different storage types would be available. Again, so in the instance type, as we have different instance types, right? In the same way, there are different storage types would be also be present, right? Each storage type is, by default, there will be some features. So if there are any storage disks that you need the high IO, right? You need to go for IO1 or IO2. If you are using for regular storage, like internal storage for your application data, then you can go for either GP2 or GP3. So GP3 is a little bit cost effective, and we have a very good level of performance as well. So generally, uh, it will go for GP3 if they are looking for a specific IO. Okay, so these are the basic configuration that are needed to launch any server. Okay, so as first thing is you need to tag the server. Second thing is you need to select the operating system, and what according to the configuration you need to select the which operating system, which memory, CPU configurations you need to select, and then you need to select the operating system, and then according to the configuration, and then you need to select the size according to the size of that, whether it should be the micro, medium based, or according to that configuration. Then you need to create a key pair. This key pair is used to log in. And then it is very crucial for the security group that you need to create. Okay, this can be customized as well. And then the storage, you can add new volumes as per the requirement. And there are so many advanced features that AWS is providing, like hibernation, okay, selecting, placing that particular VM in a specific placement group. Okay, this all will be discussed in the coming classes, right? And then the important part is, one of the important part is the user data, right? So in the user data, this section will be used basically, user data section, right? This will be used basically, for example, when you launch an instance, right? When you launch an EC2 instance, there will be some, after the virtual machine is up, right? After the virtual machine is up, then if you want any specific steps that need to be executed, right? For example, you want to start an application, any simple web application, right? For that, to start a simple web application, you need to install a package. install the particular package. For example, you are installing any simple web server, right? For a simple web server in the Linux, to install the Apache HTTPD, you need to install that particular package. So once the package is installed, right, then you need to do some, if there are any specific configurations to be modified, you need to change that configuration, right? And then you need to restart the particular service. So these are the commands for, as it is Amazon Linux machine, right? Some system Linux commands would be there to install this. Linux background is important. So to at least have the basic idea on the server, everyone, right? So these are the simple steps that you need to install any package. This is, for example, we considered only the Apache web server, right? In the same way, for example, there may be another use case, right? Suppose the application team, once the server is launched, there are some, assume that they are storing all the application log files in some particular path, like in /temp/test folder. Okay, in this particular directory, they are trying to store the log files, log1, log2, like that. And these files are just only application log files, which are not critical, assume, right? So if as these are not critical, occupy there some space would be occupying by these log files, right? So application team informed us that as and when the virtual machine is up, you have to delete these application log files which are non-critical. So every time once the virtual machine is up, you have to go to this path and you have to delete it, right? This is one. Assume this is another use case. The first use case is, assume that after launching a server, you need to install any particular package, do some configuration and restart that certificate to make the Apache web server up. This may be another use case. And there may be another use case, right? To as and when the virtual machine is up, right? You need to modify some config file of in any path. Assume that it is in /usr or /opt, right? If there is any file inside this, you need to modify the configuration of that particular. So all these steps you are performing once the VM is launched immediately. So immediately you have to perform these steps. So in those scenarios, the user data section is very, very helpful. Okay. So if you mention these steps, what are the things that you want to do it? Either for use case, if you consider that, step 1, install the package. Step 2, modify the configuration. Step 3, restart the service. If you update these, right, as and when the virtual machine EC2 instance is up, these steps would be executed. So it means, for example, okay, this is in this use case, you need to create a step like do rm minus rf to remove these log files /temp/test/log123. So if you mention the steps here, so what are all the steps that you mention in the user data section? Those steps would be executed when the VM is up. So that is the main purpose of user data section. Okay. So what are all the commands that you are mentioned in this section that will be executed immediately after the virtual machine is up? Okay. So you have to remember it. That's why I spent some 3-4 minutes specific time for this. So this is one of the questions that you may expect in the interviews also in a different way. Nobody will ask these kind of questions directly. What is the purpose of user data section? No one will say. So they will directly say that, as in I have a scenario like whenever my application is up, I want to modify the configuration of that application whenever the instance is up. Okay. See, generally nobody will reboot any critical application team daily or someone like that. There may be applications there may be servers, low risk applications that they are planning to manage only 12 hours. They want to run only 12 hours a day because of business runs only at 12 hours. The remaining 12 hours, they want to shut down it so that to save the cost. So in those scenarios, so you may expect a question like that, right? I want to modify the configuration of a file whenever the instance is up daily. So what is the easiest way that you can do it in the using the in EC2 section? Okay, then you have to specifically mention that this section about the user data section. Okay, so here I am giving some steps. Okay, just to install any web server, simple web server. Okay, so these are the commands that we will be using in the Linux. Okay, listen carefully. If you're already aware of Linux, then this will be very simple commands for you. But if you are not uh, aware of Linux, right, then just concentrate for 2 minutes. Okay, so here yum is the utility in Linux to install any packages, right? To install an application, okay, when you are installing an application, there will be certain softwares or packages that you need to run it to run if my application is developed on Java, right? So Java runtime environment should be present in that particular server. If my application is on Python or Go, right, then the respective package or respective software should be installed on the server. So yum is the utility in the Linux which will be used to install any application. So as of now, this is the name of the software that we are installing. Yum install. So in the yum there will be multiple uh, options like update, install, uninstall, remove, right? There will be many sub commands would be there for yum. So yum is the main utility where it can be used to install, uninstall, remove, delete the softwares and all, right? And here is the name of the package. Okay, so this command, what exactly this command will do is yum update -y means it will in any Linux server, there will be some repositories that would be added by default. Even if you launch this particular instance, right, I will show you the repository list. So in that repository list, what are all the packages that are available in the common used packages, common used softwares, right? All that softwares will be available in a specific repository. So that repository would be available in every, it will be available for all instances in the organization, right? This is called as a repositories. Okay, so by default there will be some repositories in the organization. They will maintain it so that directly you can download a package from that repository and you can directly install, right? So if you execute this command, right, so what are all the packages that are available in that repositories will be installed completely. All packages would be installed if you click yum update, right? If you are looking for only specific package in that repository. So here in this case, I am looking only for Apache web server. So I'm trying to install only that, but why means just it will prompt you either yes or no, it will you want to proceed or not. If you give the option explicitly why means it will go for yes. Okay. So these two will be used to install all packages and this will be installed only a specific package. So what we are doing here, we are completely updating the system and then we are specifically installing the Apache web application, right? And then systemctl is another utility in Linux, which is used to start any particular service, restart any particular service, stop, right? So to start, stop, restart of any particular software, right? Once you install the package, you need to start that particular service. So everything in a Linux, right, it will be configured as a service. If that service is running, then only you can able to understand that this particular Java is running. right? So once the package is installed, then you have to particularly start that particular service using systemctl command. So this is the command that used to start it, right? So, and enable is the command that you need to set it, because this service will start whenever the system is rebooted. If you enable this option, right? So what it will happen is, when the system is rebooted, then if you enabled it already, then automatically the HTTP Apache Web Service process will start automatically, right? In the startup scripts, right? When you uh, reboot it, your Windows machine also, if you put some uh, applications in a startup, right? So when the server is up, automatically, like for example, in your office, you might have already observed, right? When your server is rebooted, automatically the Teams will launch, right? In the same way, just to start any particular service, you need to enable it here. Okay. So as I'm planning to install a simple web application, okay, to if you update in what are the contents that you are updated in index.html, that contents will be displayed in a web page that you are trying to access. Okay. So in index.html, I'm just saying that welcome to Edupoly from this particular host name. Okay. After doing the changes, so what are the contents that will update here in index.html that will be displayed when you access the application. Okay. And here, after that, you need to restart the particular. As I said, systemctl is the resource utility that will be used to restart. Okay. I'm going very slow just to be sure that you are on pace. Okay. Just stop me if you have any doubts at any stage. Right? So I'm not going with any default options now, advanced options, sorry. Now, if you want, what are all the instances that you want, you can select the number here. As and now, I need only one instance with specific AMI that I have mentioned, and the instance type, the security group, and the volume. Okay, now I am launching the instance. Okay, to launch an instance, it will take a minute, not even a minute in AWS, right? You can see already successfully initiated. To launch, to do the specific configurations, right? It may take another 1 or 2 minutes, right? To set the, to make the instance ready once the operating system is up. So this is how the flexible is in the cloud. You can launch an instance in a minutes. Whereas in case of that traditional data center model, to set up instance, we discussed one big procedure, right? You need to create a request to the vendor. The vendor has to send the server. You, the admin, and the data center has admin has to set up the server, install the operating system. Admin team has to work it out, right? So there are so much process involved in the traditional data center. So here, in case here, directly you created a virtual machine within a minutes, right? See, once the virtual machine is created, right, automatically one public IP would be assigned. Okay, you can assign the particular IP also. If you want to assign any specific IP, then you can use that particular. If you want any IP that needs to be used for the particular instance without changing the configuration, you can assign that particular IP also. Okay, if you are not installed any particular application, just you can update the, by default, it will give some particular IP address. Okay, so for any virtual instance, 2 IP address will be assigned. One is private IP address that would be used within the internally to the AWS. This won't be accessible outside. And this IP address will be able to access outside the AWS environment also. Right? For any instance, an ID would be created. And if you can see here, if you want to verify in which particular VPC your instance is created, right? Here in VPC, these are all the by default, I said, right, when you create an account in the AWS, a particular VPC would be created, right? If you want to know more about the details in that particular VPC, right, in which subnet it is created. Okay, so what is subnet, how we will create a subnets, right? Anyway, this is a completely separate topic. We'll discuss when we discuss about the VPC. Okay, so just to understand basic information, right? Your instance is created in which particular subnet, right? We can divide your network into multiple subnets. So these are all the subnets that are available in this particular VPC. Okay, so you can get more details about it. And also here you will get more information with respect to each uh, virtual machine, right? What is the status, whether it is monitoring is enabled, right? What would be the, you can monitor the performance of that also. What is the CPU utilization, memory, networking, right? All that information. And coming to security. So we have created one security group, right? This is the security group that you have created. Okay. So this security group, you have selected the option, some inbound rules and outbound rules, correct? So you can always edit the rules, right? So here, if you go and see the outbound rules, you are allowing all the traffic. Means every person can able to access the application, because this is assumed that for any e-commerce application, everyone in the internet can able to access it from anywhere in the world. So for that, this would be the configuration: port range, all protocols, whether it's a TCP, UDP, irrespective of destination, right? All traffic. This is outbound rule. For inbound rule, only accessing, if it is an HTTP application, you are accessing on a port 80. If it is HTTPS, you are accessing that application on 443. So these are the inbound rules that you have created as part of it. You can always edit the inbound rules. Click on edit, see there is an option. If you want to allow all traffic from anywhere, IPv4 address, IPv, then you can save rules. Okay. If you removed any particular, right? If you don't want any particular, you can delete it. If you want any specific rule to be set, that you can set it. Okay. And specific ports also you can mention if you want any specific custom configuration, right? Specific IP that can be done, right? There are so many options. As I said, right? It is dependent on port number and protocol and IP address also. You can customize as per the requirements. So this is about the inbound rules, outbound rules, and this is networking part. As of now, we shouldn't concentrate much on that. Okay, right? So once here you can see the instance is launched here. You can see it is running, status check is passed, and you can see it is created in a particular availability zone. Okay, I'll discuss more on the availability zone regions and all tomorrow. Okay, you will get more details about that particular instance, which security group it has used, which key pair it is used, right? You can directly. So here the instance is running. To access this instance, we have created a key pair, correct? Test key. And AWS is also providing another method to access it. Okay, you can access this virtual machine directly by connecting to the server. Here you will have an option to connect. So directly it will connect using a web public. Directly a web console would be launched. Directly you can connect to that instance if you click on connect. Okay, this is a command to switch to the root. Okay. So now you have logged into the Linux machine, which you have launched, right? And also, in the user data section, you have copied some content, right? You have updated some content in the this particular file. Check whether that particular content is available in that particular file or not. So you can make sure that this EC2 user data section is working or not. Okay, you can see here the content that is mentioned here is present here. Okay, you have updated this content. Welcome to Edupoly, right? Okay, so this is how you need to access. So the another way to access is you just try to get the IP address of the server. You can use the MOBAX term or PuTTY, whatever is available. Okay. Just create a new session, SSH to that particular server. This software is very simple to download. Just search in the Google MOBAX term download. You don't download the enterprise version. Okay. Download the basic version. EC2 user. This is the username for the particular EC2 instance. So whatever the instance that you created, right? This will be the default username. And here you can see the key pair initially when you created a key pair, right? That particular key will be downloaded. You can use that key, and if you click on OK, directly you can log into the particular EC2 instance using the any PuTTY tools. Okay. And while creating that, right, you have selected the Amazon Linux image. You have used the custom AMI image, right? Okay, this is the x86-64 configuration. You are using Linux, okay, and you are using the Amazon Linux here. Using this command, you can able to identify it, right? And you also validate the configuration, right? What is the memory configuration that you have selected? It is 1 GB, right? 3 hyphen M, okay, kbytes, kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes. So only we have created only 1 GB memory. Okay, if you want to see the CPU, right, only one CPU we have used to create it. Okay, you can see sockets per core and all. So to cross-validate whether the configuration that you have tried to access is right. Okay, so now you have installed one web application, right? You have created steps to install the Apache server, and then you have started that particular service. You have enabled that service. You are copying this content into this file and then restarting. So we have launched a simple web server. Here you can see welcome to Edupoly. Okay, this is hostname information. It didn't. That's fine. So welcome to Edupoly is the simple web application you have installed. So in the same way, you will be installing the application manually. So every time it's not possible to update the steps in the user data section. Okay. So here like this, you have to install any application. Okay, this is a simple way of installing the application. Okay, I request you to go through the recording and try to uh, create an EC2 instance. Okay, so I'm not overloading you in the first class itself. This is very simple, but it is a must practice for all of you. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can we get
Okay.
the Linux commands, like
Yes. Yes.
whatever you have just written on the board, like what should be in a proper order, like
Yes.
what
Yes.
Linux commands we need to use, and which in which stage, like in the starting itself or the ending itself. Just mention it somewhere, like where we can easily
Yes.
access it.
We'll provide all the details. No worries about it. Right. So this is the basic creating an
And one more
EC2.
question, sir.
Yes.
So for this, do we need to have Linux knowledge? If we need to have, then we'll first learn that one. Maybe we'll